and there's like a bunch of guys that are surrounding me with guns drawn and yelling at me. I don't know exactly what they're saying, but the gist of it, I think, is we're gonna take you to prison and shoot you.
This world is ours to take. These rules were meant to break. Life can be wedding cake. Get out and let it go. Up north and Mexico. Everywhere can be our home. Feeling wild, feeling free. Look at all these possibilities. The world is ours, and we can do. Look at all these possibilities. Look at all these possibilities.
About 2 years ago, we went as a family to Guatemala, to a little town called Panajachel on Lake Atitlan. While we were there, we saw an advertisement to go paragliding. And so I went once, and then I went with Abby and Caden, and then the whole family went, and then I went like 4 or 5 more times. We decided it was something that we wanted to do as a family. All of the kids want to do it, and Stephanie definitely does not. We started looking into places that we could learn to fly ourselves. We discovered a wonderful school in Santa Barbara, California called Eagle Paragliding. They're well known for their safety training, which is really important when you're flying, and especially when you're flying with your kids. So fast forward to February of 2018, Abby, Caden, and I pack up to go spend 2 weeks in Santa Barbara, California to learn to fly together. It was an amazing experience. We ended up getting like 30 or 40 solo flights in, like really small flights, and finally culminated in us doing a mountain flight at the very end. We went almost directly from there to Dune de Pilat in France. We spent a month and a half out there flying before the great ankle incident of 2018.
Basically, I was flying and I crashed into the ground. Thankfully, it was sand dune, so I didn't break anything, but it scared me away from paragliding for a little while.
In November of 2018, I started looking into flying Colombia, and Abby decided she wanted to come with me and give it a shot again, despite being afraid. So we packed up our bags and flew out to Colombia in February of 2019.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited. After arriving at our hotel in the beautiful little village of La Union, Colombia, nestled in the Valle del Cauca, we were scheduled to spend 7 days flying with the group from our Eagle Paragliding tribe. It was a week that pushed us to and past our limits and filled us with a sense of new possibilities for the future. This is that story. My first flight, man, I was really nervous about flying.
Day one, baby.
Yeah.
About to, Abby's gonna do her first, she'll do a tandem today. And then we'll play it by ear from there. And I was hoping to do tandem first, but nope, I'm gonna be flying solo today, so.
And I hadn't done a solo flight, like a true mountain solo flight, for a year. I'd done lots of little dune flights, like super easy pickups, and I wasn't flying thermals or anything, but this one I had to fly a long distance to get to the landing zone. And it scared the poop out of me.
Good news is the takeoff area is quite big, and the drop off is not too significant, and it's on grass. So I'm feeling pretty good about the takeoff zone.
Okay, so I know what you're thinking. This is not exactly the face of someone who's entirely confident that they can fly without dying, but that's my fun face.
My goal today was to take off and land safely, number one, and then number two, I'd like to have an hour-long flight today, so I'm going to need to find some thermals if I'm going to pull that off. And you're good.
Okay. Oh.
Launch! just wanted to land safe today. I didn't want to try and do anything funny. I just wanted to take off, find a good spot to land, and then land there. So that's what I did.
Even though it wasn't actually that long, I think I came down and told everybody it was like 25, 30 minutes because that's what I felt.
Yeah.
But when I went and checked my instruments afterwards, it was more like 18 minutes or something. To my surprise, and also not surprise, I remembered how to fly. I mean, it wasn't actually... Yeah, you kind of remember it.
My greatest challenge in Colombia was conquering my fear of flying because I hurt myself in France. It kind of carried over, and I was just pretty scared to do it. I almost didn't go, so that was really hard for me.
I'm really nervous actually. Mostly because I had a crash before and it's freaked me out a lot, and I don't know, it's just hard to go back out there. I crashed into the sand, which doesn't sound that bad, but I hurt my ankle and I wasn't able to fly, and it was just scary. It scared me a lot. And now we're gonna do mountain flights, which is way worse, and it's gonna be a lot scarier.
So I want to just ask you this. Have you had lots of training?
Yes.
And with probably the best training in the world.
Yeah.
And what have I said to you about this week?
I don't have to fly any day I don't feel like I can.
Right. In fact, I don't want you to fly if you don't feel safe, right? So, what are you expecting from this week? What do you think this week is going to look like?
Well, to be honest, I kind of know my personality, and I'll probably fly tandem like the first day or two, but then I'll just develop on myself.
Yeah, that's true. I know you. If you have an opportunity to show me up and look like you're better than me, will you do it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, you will.
On the first 2 flying days of this trip, Abbie actually flew as a passenger with a professional pilot controlling the paraglider. This is known as a tandem flight. In preparation for her first solo flight, she actually spent quite a bit of time mentally preparing and even visualizing her entire flight many times over.
Yesterday my dad told me that if I have a safe landing today, then I will get a Eagle paragliding hat. And so I turned to him and I said, so basically if I don't die, I get a hat, right? And he told me that, yeah, it sounds kind of cheap, but yes, that's the deal. So I am going to hold him to that.
I'm spending money like I just got paid. $100 bills, tell them keep the change. Come on. Pop a bottle, about to make it rain. Let me give you something now to celebrate. Come on. And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, good, good. Oh, 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 I just feel so good. And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good. I just feel so good. Way to go, Abbie. Good job.
It is day 3 and I just finished my very own flight solo. My first one since the accident. And today I followed what I did in my visualization, and the air didn't feel as scary after I visualized it and thought about it. And then I came to land and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna land. That was the most scary part. And then I was like, I'm gonna crash. I'm gonna crash. But I straightened myself out, and I'd given myself enough time before, so I landed. And I did a pretty soft landing, and my glider fell into a gate, but it wasn't harmed, and I wasn't harmed. And I did a 25-minute flight. And I'm really, really happy with myself, actually.
On my very last day, the conditions were perfect for a really good cross-country flight. I was hoping that it would be my best flight ever, and it totally was. I ended up flying for a total of 1 hour and 32 minutes, but I did not expect it to end the way that it did. I ended up in a totally random town that I didn't even know existed before. And I was flying, and I would catch a thermal, and I would get up, and I would try to move out, and I would lose my altitude. I'd have to come back and catch a thermal and fly back up again, and then fly out. And I did that like 4 or 5 times before it became clear that I had lost my opportunity to continue the flight. So I looked around, and I found a really, really good place to land. It looked like a lawn. It was like no tall grass, no shrubs, no sticks, no rocks. It had a windsock, and it even had a helipad on there. That should have been my first clue. I thought, this is a perfect place to land. Look, it's like almost like it has been built for me. Right before I land, I start hearing and seeing these people in military fatigues yelling at me in Spanish with their guns drawn on me. Well, at this point, I'm flying a glider. I can't choose to land somewhere else. And so I finished my landing, and there's a bunch of guys that are surrounding me with guns drawn and yelling at me. I don't know exactly what they're saying, but the gist of it, I think, is, we're gonna take you to prison and shoot you. They, let's just say, encouraged me to come very quickly with them. I grab my glider, I pick it up, and I sort of follow them / am followed by other people with guns. And they take me to near the entrance, but there is a general of some kind. I assume a general. He had an angrier expression on his face, and he looked older, so I'm gonna call him a general. So the general says to me, well, I don't know what he says to me, it's in Spanish, but basically he seems to be indicating that I should follow him into this kind of dark room where, I don't know, he's gonna interrogate me, or maybe he's gonna offer me lunch. I don't know, but I'm not gonna take a risk that it's something not good. As he's telling me to go over there, I say, sí, no problemo, and I start walking towards the entrance, and my heart is beating as fast as I can, because I'm like, they could stop me or put a gun into my head or something, and not let me out. But I think they just thought I was an idiot.
After my harrowing escape from the clutches of certain death by firing squad, or perhaps just a nice barbecue lunch, I caught a 45-minute ride with a local on the back of his motorcycle. That in itself was an adventure, and the perfect end to an amazing week. During our 7 days flying together in Colombia, both Abbie and I had epic flights and epic fails.
Back for take number 2. That was a little sketchy. I almost fell off the bus. I'm told that people do this all the time, but I don't know, man.
But we grew in our love of paragliding, adventure, and in our friendship with each other. Of course, we don't know what the future will hold, but we do know there will be many more adventures together and with the rest of the family, and we intend paragliding to play an ongoing role.
I'm spending money like I just got paid. $100 bills, tell them keep the change. Come on.
Abbie thinks that she's better than me.
I am. Actually.
You're not.
I actually am.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not. You're better at coming in second place than I am. I'll give you that.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good.